Conflicts are a normal part of human interactions. Conflicts in relationships are often a product of simple misunderstandings, which lead to complex and sometimes detrimental problems that ultimately destroy the relationship if not handled properly. Dr. Gray insists that conflicts in relationships are typical, and they should not create a rift between the couples but should be an avenue for growth. With humans, conflicts are pretty standard, but we can find resolution through dialogue. What causes conflict, and how do you avoid or manage them? The key to avoiding conflict is transparent and honest communication. To have this kind of communication is first to understand yourself, know your love language, pet peeves, and what you want in a relationship. After this personal assessment, you can move on to understanding your partner. Conflict exists because people refuse to approach discussions as opportunities to grow. Instead, they are always in attack, defense mode, only thinking about their point of view. This mindset always causes the other party to see the discussion as an attack and respond accordingly. Couples need to create room for discussion and reduce the occurrence of arguments instead. The only way to control conflict is to opt for open dialogue if we cannot avoid it. Among couples, the conversation must be with love and attention to the furtherance of the relationship. There is a chance for teams to misplace the priority of a discussion. This confusion is what turns conversations into messy fights. In the following chapters, we will thoroughly explore the intricacies of couples, the relationship dynamics, and why they have fights. We shall also discuss how to effectively gain a common understanding and properly navigate the complexities of romantic relationships. There are many differences between men and women, and it is vital to understand them. Men and women are different in so many ways, which is why relationship problems exist, but it's also why they're attracted to each other. Most men are rational executors and hardly share emotions, while women prefer to talk through things and show their feelings. Couples usually have problems in their relationship because they fail to understand that their partner's actions will not mirror their own. Men like to fix. They see a problem and immediately go to work. This is macho and sometimes unnecessary in many women's views, and it barely equips the man to tend to his woman's needs. Women like to nurture and build. It's this innate desire and ability that makes them natural caregivers. One common expression of this is seen when her husband returns from work. She would instinctively ask how his day went, listen to every detail of his reply, and proceed to hug him in an attempt to share the man's feelings. This method is also great, helpful, but it isn't exactly what a man wants. For couples to effectively live free of conflicts, they must commit to understanding and utilizing the key differences between each other. A man typically interprets a woman's nurturing attempts as a sign that he is unfit to take care of her. In turn, a woman will perceive a man's "fix it fast" method as cold and numb. This problem is what has ruined the best of relationships. Understanding the thought process behind the difference between men and women. What went wrong in the last chapter? Why is there such a conflict when they both want the same thing? The answer is simple. The couple failed to understand one fundamental truth: men and women are from different planets. Perhaps not literally, but there is that much contrast between the two. What men value is their ability to solve problems, and this is what they've been doing all their lives. So they bring the same thinking to their relationships, not realizing women are different. When their woman says her day was stressful, the first thing they think about is proffering a solution. But women often just want to talk and be heard in such situations. Women? They hold communication and nurturing dearest to their hearts and believe that if something is good, it can be significant. This makes them often suggest the man do things to improve his life or make things better. But it makes men feel not in control. For instance, when a man's business is not going well, the woman in his life will want to suggest ideas for him to work on. She does this as an expression of her love, but the man would much rather be left alone to figure the solution out himself. He takes pride in knowing he can handle things. But of course, that doesn't mean you shouldn't suggest ideas for your man. Just do it in ways that make him feel he's still in charge. Men can be compassionate, and they can confuse a woman's need to care and nurture as a show of weakness and will take offense. Men also handle just about everything differently than women, from romance to stress. When men are stressed, they prefer to be quiet and forget about it until a eureka moment hits them. When they finally find a fix, that's when they relax. However, women approach stress differently and prefer to talk about it. This is how they deal with it. At the core of any woman is the desire to be heard, understood, and appreciated. Couples need to understand that men and women are different and must respect their partner's differences. Because she is afraid of not being supported, she unknowingly pushes away the support she needs. John Gray. Effective communication in relationships is necessary for a happy marriage. Many problems that lead to breakups or divorces are usually an offshoot of poor communication between partners. Now you're wondering, but we talk, like all the time. Yet, that doesn't exactly cover the entire scope of communicating because it's not enough just to talk. A solitary life is perfect for men with no family looking up to them, but this mentality fades away as they grow older and wish to share their lives with someone. But here's where the fear kicks in. A man is terrified of giving a portion of himself since he believes he becomes more vulnerable. The case is the reverse for women, who feel unworthy of love and compensate by giving so much of it in relationships. The fear of rejection doesn't even begin to match up to the fear of unworthiness, and the only defense mechanism is to keep giving until it hurts. And it sometimes does. For men, the task is to listen carefully, attentively, and answer only to encourage them to feel safe enough to continue. When men are stressed, they recede into a silent state, brooding until they can undo the stress. During this period, women are unsure how to go about it since their default move would be to talk. The trick is to learn how to listen because listening is as essential as speaking. Communication isn't always about verbal exchange. It can also be non-verbal cues. Communication is a two-way street, and it can be a very busy one too. However, a clear understanding of the rules will go a long way in helping you navigate. Some of the rules are: offer and accept criticism with care, love, and caution. Make clear statements, don't leave anything up for translation. Don't throw blame when you share your feelings, and don't immediately conclude you're getting blamed too. Always remember your partner is very different from you. Treat them accordingly. Be ready to offer words of support and encouragement. Did you know? Research conducted on the quality of life at Deakin University's Australian Centre showed some younger couples report having lower levels of happiness than others who have been married for a long time. Men and women think and love differently. When a man is in love, he will pull away farther and farther until, of course, the overwhelming realization that he can't do without his partner pulls him back to her. Kind of like how a rubber band behaves when you stretch it. This action is a result of a host of things. Amongst them is that a man will feel like he is losing himself, his identity in the relationship, and will pull away to reassess his life. He may also do this if he feels overrun with emotional, physical, or mental pressure from his partner. Man has a crushing desire to spend life alone. Much of his life revolves around validation from himself. Women need to realize that when a man pulls away, he does so to return even closer to them. It isn't because of a lack of love or disinterest. Don't judge or blame him or pull away, and don't run after him physically, emotionally, or mentally. You will only push him farther away. And you know that an overstretched rubber band can't come back to its original form. Women love very differently, albeit their love has a similar analogy. It is like a wave. This stage is when the wave is peaking. Their feelings bloom, rise, peak, and then crash to mount again. First, the woman will be in love, and it will feel like paradise. Then it will suddenly go sour. This is when the wave crashes. And then it goes up again to continue the cycle. It is important to recognize and understand how your partner reacts to certain triggers or occurrences. This helps in dealing with them. Dr. John Gray describes the crash in the wave as being in a dark well within your consciousness, which can be very depressing. At that moment, she no longer feels lovable or feels like giving love to anyone. Men need to understand that when she is experiencing this change in feelings, his job isn't to blame anyone, especially not himself, but to maintain the level of love that she will respond to. This stage is where he must step in. By loving her in that state, he will take her back to the peak of the wave. When men and women can respect and accept their differences, then love has a chance to blossom. John Gray, Ph.D. Handling emotional needs, changes, and arguments are the essential activities in a relationship. Men and women should understand that they both need different kinds of love and that their needs also differ significantly. Dr. John Gray speaks of 12 types of love. Both men and women share them equally but experience different kinds of love. Men, for example, at their core, desire trust, acceptance, appreciation, admiration, approval, and encouragement. These things constitute their love language. If you can give a man those kinds of love, he will be more open and receptive to you. Women primarily have 6 types of love: caring, understanding, respect, devotion, validation, and reassurance. If a woman doesn't get these, she will feel cheated and unloved in the relationship. Men and women express and experience love differently. Respecting this is the key to understanding. Couples often complain that they give too much love and get none in return. It happens because people give the kind of love they want, but it's usually not what their partners desire. Women offer men their 6 types of love, and men provide theirs. But both parties will be unsatisfied and frustrated because they fail to recognize the crucial truth: men are different from women. Arguments aren't a disease that you can vaccinate against, but you can reduce them. However, the problem with arguments is in the content of the argument. Most people concur that they hate the way their partners speak to them during a disagreement. Generally, this behavior happens because there is a temporal break in romance in a quarrel, and anger controls people to say things they shouldn't, something they wouldn't usually say. During an argument, it is essential to focus on the problem and not your partner. If the goal is to avoid arguments, couples should employ loving and respectful communication. The essential constituent of an argument is in the manner in which both parties communicate. Therefore, couples should choose their words and approach a discussion with love and respect, and remember that the problem is the enemy and not their partner. Conclusion: men and women are very different, and understanding this difference is critical to solving relationships. Often, the main issue is finding a middle ground and agreeing. Gray insists that men and women are usually saying the same thing but in totally different languages. The key to deciding more is learning each other's languages, and this is achievable through attentive and intentional learning through open and honest discussions. Relationships all start the same: blissful, sweet, and filled with romance, only to end abruptly regardless of the couple's good intentions. This abrupt end is usually because the couple refused to recognize their differences and accept them to make the relationship work. They tried to love the way they thought was right and expected the same in return. This lack of understanding would lead to strain, frustration, and resentment. Still, conflict is avoidable, and many relationships are fixable if both parties identify and respect their differences and choose to work with and not walk away from them. When conflict arises, remember that the goal is to fix it and help the relationship grow, a decision that will steady your mind and put you both on the same page. Often with fights or conflicts, couples focus on the other person, attacking them instead of the problem, which in turn elongates the dispute and can cause regrettable words and actions to ensue. We must argue constructively, not with the intention to destroy but to correct and grow. This is the only way to survive inevitable conflicts and come out on top, healthy and happy. Try this. If you feel the magic of your love dying after you've done everything that comes with relationship self-help books, try writing a love letter to your partner, one for every day, detailing what you loved about them that day. For example, Day 1. I love how your hair looked today. It reminded me of our first date in college. Day 2. I love that you reminded me to take my medication today. Day 3. I loved it when you helped me fix my tie on my way to work today.